Okay, Blake, what brings you in today?
I've been dealing with some, I guess you could call it anxiety or paranoia. I guess I've been feeling really anxious about different things, and specifically my partner and some of our finances. And I don't know. I have a lot of fear. I fear. I'm in fear a lot of the times for a lot of different things, and it's hard to describe where those are really coming from. Because sometimes I feel like they're totally rational thoughts and fears, and other times I feel like, I'm kind of crazy.
Okay. Um, I want to ask, where do you feel like these anxieties and fears come up, and are like, what do they come at like during certain times of the day, or is it more situational when it comes to your relationship and your finances, I would say.
I guess they are situational, specifically with the finances, it's situational because my partner will talk about finances sometimes, and then I just get in this mode where like I'm worried that like they're out to get me, like they're out to get my money. And this happened a couple weeks ago, but I was so scared that they were out to get my money. My partner was that I went to the bank and I took out all my money. I just scared, and I was worried that they were going to find out about it. And I took out all my money, and that happened a couple weeks ago. And it really didn't hit me until probably yesterday that that might have been an irrational decision. And that's just kind of with money. Like anytime that that comes up, I just have this fear that like I need to be protective of it.
I hear you. Um, has there been times in the past where they been taking your money, I would say, or what makes you feel like they're taking their money? Have they done it before?
No, they haven't. They This person specifically has not done it before. But when I was younger, specifically, high school, freshman, sophomore year of high school, my parents were really, really strict with my money, and they monitored all the money that I made, all all of my spending, and they would try and set budgets for me, and we had a lot of heated discussions when we would talk about like discretionary spending. So they would set a budget, say this much for college, for gas, for food, and then I would have a little bit of money left over that I could spend any way that I want. And they felt that I should spend it on like smart things, like, well, if I have extra money, why wouldn't I save it for college? And we got into a lot of heated discussions about that. So maybe that might have something to do with why I'm so protective of my money and fearful. Like it's not like they're taking my money, but it just didn't feel like it was always a positive relationship, or it wasn't always like a positive experience discussing that. And it just, is my money. I wanted to do what I wanted with it. Um, so that would kind of be something that kind of set up a weird relationship with money. But since then, it's kind of, it's just spiraled to many different things outside of just money.
I can see where your parents are coming from. I mean, they're obviously their parents. They have to track their finances as one of their main responsibilities. And providing that structure for you would set you up for the long term. I'm just wondering, how'd you feel about that? I know you said you would have some heated discussions with them, and so I know you'd be opposed to getting it, but do you feel like it helped you better in the long term, or is it something that does not help you, and that's why it causes you anxiety?
Well, it is something that helped me, and I understand that. I know how to make a budget, stick to a budget, stay to a budget. The problem was is that there was no freedom for me. There was absolutely no freedom whatsoever. And then when it came to the discretionary money, they were still trying to control it, even though it was supposed to be my money spent on whatever the hell I wanted to. But they didn't allow that. And that's really the source of our arguments, was because it's supposed to be for me to spend whatever I want, and they're still judging, trying to control my money. And it pissed me off. And that's just something that made me angry. But now, there's a lot of different things that I get fearful of, kind of.
I can see where the frustration kind of comes from there. I mean, it's money, and it's like you want to do with what you have. I mean, we live in a country where it's free will, and we have the liberty to spend it of how we want. And but now you're an adult, and now it's your money, and your parents don't have a say into it. I'm gonna say technically. Now, how do you feel about that? I mean, I know you want to go back. We can go back to your partner too, and have you guys formed any kind of agreement on top of that?
Well, we do keep our finances separate, and that's something that I wanted to do. I want to keep our finances separate because I am fearful that they might take my money at some point in time. Um, but like I said, there's a lot of other issues outside of the finances where I feel that fear.
Right, right. I can see where it's coming from. Have you expressed that to your partner?
No, because I do feel like, again, I can recognize it. This is irrational, but in the moment, it feels so real. Um, I have just expressed that I want to keep it separate, and I want to keep it separate based on that fear.
Right, right. Do they know why you want to keep that kind of preference though?
No, and no, they don't know why. They don't know why specifically, but they were the ones that pointed out that this fear might be a little irrational. And it did take me a while to come to that because I, and actually, when they brought up this discussion, that's when I took my money out of my bank account. I took all my money out because I didn't trust them. But they were the one that pointed out that this should be irrational and that there's some other things that I'm kind of fearful of that also are irrational as well. Yeah, that's kind of why I
Right.
wanted to talk to somebody about it, is because I'm starting to realize that sometimes I'm I'm wrong.
Where you feel like you're wrong. And do you feel like if you give your partner the complete reason why you feel like this would take the weight off your shoulders?
No, I don't, because there's so many other things. Like sometimes I feel like somebody's watching me, or y- a couple days ago there was a car parked out in the front of our house, and I didn't know who it was, but they had tinted windows, so I couldn't see who was inside, and I thought this person was watching me. And I know now, I think about it, and I think, that's probably not what was going on, but in the moment, it just felt so real.
Right. It probably wasn't real. Like I said, it probably was just an everyday occurrence that happens and it just got into your head. Now I'm going to say this, trying to figure out how to word it out. Since you're starting to come to agreement that you can be irrational sometimes, have you thought about how you're going to move on forward from there?
No, I haven't, and that's why I wanted to come talk to somebody about it, is because I don't know how to not feel that way. I don't know how to stop those feelings because in the moment I'm not recognizing that it's not real.
So what you're saying in the moment, it's not, you feel like it's not real. Well, you feel like it's real, but it's not.
I feel like it's real, but and now I can think back and say, okay, that probably wasn't real, but in the moment I can't distinguish it.
Okay.
I just feel so real to me.
Okay. We can look back right now, in what cases have you recognized that it's not real? Since you now know it's not.
Well, I wasn't I don't think I was always like this. Um, I can't think of a time where, something like that would happen, but over the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 months or so, there's just been different things. Like it started small. It started shortly after I got a new job,
Hmm.
and it kind of started small where I would just kind of think like coworkers were talking about me. Like I work in a call center and everybody's on the phone all the time. So I would think that my coworkers were talking about me. And then there was a time when I thought my boss and my boss's boss were talking about me. And I got very upset with both of them because I felt like they were talking behind my back. And and that was like mostly at work. And then at a certain point, it kind of got outside of work. And now here we are. It's been really difficult for me to realize that these things that I'm having a difficult time with these things because in the past I haven't had a very hard time with this stuff. And so now I'm kind of starting to realize it and it's making me a little uneasy.
See, I would think at a call center today, there's so many conversations exchanged to the point where miscommunication can happen so quickly and so simply to where you hear out the wrong conversation and you think of they're speaking behind your back, but which is probably not the case. Um, so I feel like that'd be very unlikely that they're talking behind your back. Just like because, like I said, there's so many conversations that are exchanged, and and from today's world, everything's taken out of context, which can be this case. Do you think that's the case?
Yeah, I can't. I do think that was the case most likely, but it just felt so real. Like I was determined that it was real.
I've had a certain situation where this was pretty similar between me and my coaches, but I've thought about it myself, and I just thought it could be a form of self-sabotage. And to the point where I'm putting these thoughts into my head, which is it's not really happening. So do you think it's self-sabotage as well?
No, I
No?
don't think it's self-sabotage because I'm a very hard worker and I know that I'm a hard worker and I do good work.
Can I interrupt?
Yeah.
Since you believe that you're a hard worker, do you heavily rely on that characteristic?
Yes, I do. I do. I would say it's a big part of my identity, which is why it's difficult for me to say or think that I mean, maybe something's not right with the way that I'm thinking or acting.
And would you say others describe you as a hard worker too?
I would like to think so.
I feel like Blake, if you were to just instill that characteristic into you that I'm a hard worker, I can trust in what I do, and know I can get the job finished, you should have nothing to worry about.
Okay.
I feel like that's something you can build off of.
All right. You feel good? I think you got a lot. All right. I'm over.